Gardener here, starting the series I had warned you about. So we're going to look at the garden and see what a mess it is after winter, and some minor little things here and there that I had done before winter, and some things that we're going to start doing, and maybe a few plans of something here and there. Just want to take you on a little tour and kind of show you what I'm doing, what my ideas are, and don't laugh at my hair. I do need a haircut, but normally I'm wearing a hat. But today is really nice. It's like 55, nice cool breeze. I like it to blow through my hair, so let's get started. So this is one of my wife's mini planters. This is my makeshift table, if you will, out here in the garden. Someday this might turn into a small building or potting shed of some sort, but I've just gotten started thinking about stuff. But I've got a project here, an old tree that was cut down. I've been slowly burning the center out and trying to come up with some ideas. I may turn it into some sort of a planter, or even try a small mushroom area in the future. I don't know. We'll see. I'm one of those dudes that like totally tries weird stuff, and most of the time it fails, but sometimes it works good. Here I've got a pile of straw, which is what I use for covering up stuff, mulch, and helping the cover crops get going in my raised beds. There's 2 barrels. I usually use that to make a couple teas throughout the year for my garden and even my yard. This is basically a 30 by 30 area that my wife and I had created last year during the high prices of wood, so it's very special to me because I paid way too much for it, but I really wanted to get it going. This bed here is going to be, right now it looks horrible. I've got stuff in here. I partially do hugelkultur just because of the fact I like throwing a lot of stuff in before adding dirt. This was never full last year, and I threw some pumpkin seeds in it, and it actually did really well, other than the fact that the pumpkins grew out about 30 feet out here and into the yard. But this year I'm going to be getting some more loads of some random compost and topsoil, and we're going to fill this box all the way up. But cardboard, old plants, corn stalks, things like that, old dirt, I recycle it all, I amend it, I turn it back into good stuff. So what I was doing today and in the middle of pretty much was trying to get some of this cleaned up and ideas to get going. So as you can see, I threw a lot of my cuttings from last year in here. There's quite a bit of old dirt, some old pots, some old things that I've got to get re-amended and going again, like these old chrysanthemums here. But this is, we'll refer to it as box 5 or garden 5. And this is box or garden 4. This has a whole bunch more of my wife's pots and things that we'd rejuvenate. For instance, this diamond-shaped planter she's had for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. We've gone through, I pulled it out of the trash a few times, but most of it's all upside down right now, just because the biologics in these gardens I spent so much time on is so good that I flip all of her planters upside down in the fall and let the biologics work their way up into them throughout the winter and the spring. So today that's what I'm working on, is getting these planters out, getting them ready for re-amending, and kind of putting stuff in its place. All of these screens here, these are all lattices, whether homemade or not, that I use for the the indeterminate tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that. So this year I'm going to be doing some other things like little pumpkins. We're going to try watermelons, some miniature cantaloupes, some other things that I'm going to have fun trying to grow, let alone maybe even trellising. So this is garden box 4. Here's some tables. I just use these in the garden randomly. Last year I kept one pumpkin. Most of them all rotted or something happened to them. I'm not sure. It was obviously my first year, so. But the only pumpkin that survived was almost 100 pounds, and it was grown up into this full-size maple tree that I've had forever, that my mom gave me 10 or so years ago when we moved in. It's about 8 feet tall, and I'm trying another scientific project here, keeping it about that tall and just trying to turn it into a dwarf, if you will. But all of the pumpkins in this box, half of them grew out and, like I said, into the yard. And then some of them I actually trellised and wrapped around this tree and brought over and hung it from some of the branches. And the biggest pumpkin I got hung down here, and then I took one of these tables and put it in the box, set the pumpkin on it, and it grew perfectly. I set the pumpkin on it, and the bottom was ended up flat because the bottom sat on here, and it was the best pumpkin we've ever had, let alone the healthiest. I don't think it even started rotting until January or February. So anyway, I kept it, and the pumpkin that is, and I put it in the yard over here, which is basically in front of my work shed. So the idea here is to put the pumpkin here underneath this small pellet and cardboard, and it's been rotting, if you will, under there, seeds and all. But I'm hoping it and the worms and the biology create a really good spot to plant my next pumpkin this year that I'm going to try to do properly to start it right here. So this area looks like I just throw trash in the yard, but I've got some wood laid down. I got that there. Got some old mats, a towel, which is not doing much, but these pieces of wood, these tires hold them down. And I'm going to try to grow the pumpkin from here all the way out, continue burying the roots and amending it. And I'm hoping all this grass will die and all the worms and all the biology will help out under there, so that as it grows I can continue to just keep it healthy and alive. About 15 feet or so, we'll see, out to here. So yeah, it's gonna kind of be in the way, but this is just another project that will or will not work. I'm not sure. So moving from garden box 4, which was this one, I also have been doing lazy composting. There is a ton of biology in this compost and old soil here from some pots and some things I've been trying to grow throughout the winter in a small tent that I have inside with a light. I've been putting in beneficial mites and bacterias, Hypoacis miles, which are predator mites for spider mites and stuff, because I got spider mites in my indoor vegetable grow this year, and it pretty much wiped everything out. I know they actually came from out here because I brought a lot of the dirt and stuff in last fall from out here. Otherwise, because it was in a tent and there's no way for bugs to get in, and especially spider mites. So I think the spider mites actually came, like I said, from some of the dirt and some of the cover crop and some of the chop and drop stuff from this garden that I had put in that tent. So learned my lesson there, but I think the Hypoacis miles, I believe is the way you say it, I think they've survived. I just put them out here a couple weeks ago. It hasn't really been freezing, so I'm sure they're down in there. I'm going to spread this as an amendment back on the garden beds when I'm done here in the next few days, preparing the beds, hoping that they do come back to life and eat the eggs of anything bad that might be in this this garden of mine that I ran into, as far as the spider mites and things. So, oh, and aphids. I had corn over there, planted a little early, big and healthy. Fed it molasses type compost tea last summer, and it brought in every ant from, I think, probably the northwest. So the aphids totally killed out my big corn, but the cool thing is it brought in predator wasps and 4 billion predator bugs, including ladybugs of all different types and things. So that was kind of cool to see. They were a little too late. They didn't save it, but I know that they wintered here somewhere, and they're going to be ready to wake up and do some work again. So I'm happy about that. But I've got bigger pile. It's going to last forever. These are the sticks and our Christmas trees and bigger pieces of cardboard and stuff. And this part of the compost, this is the smaller stuff, but still sticks and things that could take a while. And then the finished product, like I said, is over here. But I never did hot. I did lazy. So I'm going to try to do a hot pile this year. I'm going to try to heat this one up and possibly this one. And definitely going to keep this one here hot. And my neighbors were nice enough to collect all of their leaves last year and this spring. And I bought all the bags for them. And they did their job and they bagged everything up. And it's been sitting in these black bags all winter. Some of them just came this spring, but all winter. And some might end up leaf mold, which takes a year or two. But a lot of it I'm going to actually use for creating at least one, if not more, hot compost pile this year. I have a lazy compost bin that all my kitchen scraps from my wife's cooking and my cooking, as far as vegetables and coffee grounds and old cut flowers and things, over by the back door over there, and an old tool chest. And it's got worms and all kinds of good stuff in it, but like I said, it's not hot. It's cold, but it's good. So that was also something that I just started last year that I was trying out for the heck of it. So let's go to garden. We did 5, 4, and try to zoom this back out, but it's not working. This is box 3. There we go. This is box 3. I use hairy vetch and purple Dutch clover for cover crop, and then of course I might have mentioned it earlier, I do chop and drop, which is good or bad, but I'm trying it because of the fact that the mites and maybe some bad bugs eggs still live and they'll come back again. But I'm going to chop this stuff. This is just cover crop to keep the biology alive and the bugs that are good, and I'm going to chop it and rake in the top layer, leave it as a mulch. Get rid of the big stuff, put it in the compost pile. Here are more planting pots of my wife's that I'm just leaving in there upside down so the good biology can get in there. And I'm gonna continue to add a little bit of good topsoil to each one of these, because they've actually gone down almost a foot from where I actually started last year because of biology and settling. But the little teeny piece of hugelkultur that I did was, these boxes were all half full of old tree cuttings, old fence posts, and just basically wood stuff, wood chips and things like that. to create a base, so I didn't have to buy any extra topsoil or anything that I didn't have to, especially with the prices that were last spring. So that's Garden Box for all these random things. I like to use stuff. I hate throwing things away, so broomstick handles and old curtain rods and things like that. Those are all there with hooks and things for hanging my shade cloth and my trellis, cattle panel, trellis fencing, anything, you know, old tomato cages, things I use for trellising. So this is Garden Box 2, and this has, again, stuff I've got to move out, some stuff I used for trellising last year. An old pot that has flowers in it that have been around here since almost the day we moved in, even in that broken bucket and everything. It's gone through years of no watering, nothing, no amendments. It's about a quarter full, and it still keeps making, I believe, lilies. So I'm going to try to keep that alive in the old, ugly old pot. I might repot it this year for once. I don't know. You can see the clover. You can see a lot of this. Some of this is chop and drop cucumbers from last year that were in here. And some of this is the giant radishes from Japan. I got some seeds on recommendation from Gardener Scott and some other people I had been watching on YouTube. They're a superfood, but they're also good to keep the soil loosened up and the biology eating throughout the winter. And they were like watermelon radishes, and can't remember the other type, but you know, a lot of them grew to be 1, 2, 3 feet long. So the other day I was showing my mother. I pulled some of them out just to show her, because I just put them in there to let them rot and let the bugs eat them. But I did eat one last year, and it was really good. So I might think about actually pulling some this year and eating them. So there's one down there. It's half grown out of the ground and rotted and got eaten. And so gonna do the same thing with all these boxes. I'm gonna chop this vetch and this Dutch clover and rake it through, take the big stuff out, like I said, and put it in the compost pile. My son and family members get me funny little gnomes for my birthday usually. Now this started last year, so obviously it's only happened once, but so I appreciate those kind of things. I really would like to find the old school ones from the 70s and 80s that are a little bit bigger and they're porcelain and you can paint them yourself, because I kind of like doing little projects like that. I like to make models and things in the winter too. So this is Garden Box 1. This is where the corn was last year. And I just barely started amending and doing some stuff with pots before starting this video. So each one of these boxes has a whole bunch of stuff that will come back up that was supposed to basically bring in predators that are good. This stuff is African marigolds, chopped and dropped. There's lots of seeds in here that will come back. Those are supposed to bring beneficial animals and stuff, so those actually ended up turning out really huge. They're 10 times bigger than the regular marigolds. So, but there's lots of marigold seed heads in here and stuff that I'm hoping will repop and create another world of that. So for now, my friends, that is it, and I will continue to update you. I'll do an indoor video to kind of let you know who I am and a little more about me before we really get going. Thank you.